No matter what you do, whether it's work, play, or living healthy, life requires fuel. At Health Empowers You, we focus on quality to help give you the most fuel for your life. So let us help you get empowered. Stop by healthempowersyou.net today.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sacred Motion, the art of moving with intention. I'm Tracy C. Wright. Now, we have been on a wonderful journey talking about different topics such as forgiveness, boundaries, and being positive with your words. And I really felt called to invite someone who I met a couple of years ago, and I actually met her through a site called Heal Me, where she had reached out, and we have become friends. And I'm so proud at how she has paused and turned her life in a completely and wonderful and amazing direction. So let me tell you a little bit about her, and then she'll come on and tell you a whole lot of what amazing things are going on in her life. Now, Conventina Waterhawk. Now, she is an award-winning international best-selling author, Reiki master teacher, intuitive guide, motivational speaker. Now, her purpose really is to help trauma survivors reclaim and empower life by sharing her utmost secrets here of what she had done to go through these things and how she accomplished this. Now, dual diagnosis recovery and these practical tools that she's implemented for success, and she does it one day at a time. Now, she has helped thousands find solutions for their struggle by speaking to small and large audiences throughout the recovery community. And she's been invited in return to several yearly events as keynote speakers. Her favorite being a camp out with over 300 participants. And she speaks in groups as a way of helping carry her message. And here I am fortunate enough that she made time in her very busy schedule to come be a guest on Sacred Motion. So welcome, my dear friend, Conventina Waterhawk. Welcome to Sacred Motion.
Hi.
Welcome.
How are you?
Good. So I told our listeners just a little bit about you, but I know there's so much more because I've gotten an opportunity to meet you, in person. I went to your book signing and it was so exciting. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have been on the path of recovery for over 39 years now. My life began at age 7 with suicidal ideation, and I struggled, and then I struggled with substances until I reached rock bottom and I found recovery. And then ever since then, every day I have walked with the intention of changing my life, growing, staying sober, helping other people. And I found that when I help other people and I get out of myself, that all of this craziness and the noise in my mind goes away. It dissipates because it's not about me. It's about how I can help you, because it's all about you. And my life has been not a me thing, it's a we thing. So we do this together. It's community. It's having the opportunity to be there for somebody else, not by words, but just by being there and just through the actions. To set that example, to walk my talk to the best of my ability, to heal and grow and help others is just my main goal in life, is to help those who not only struggle with mental health issues, but with, substance abuse, and to let them know that there is hope. And that because I have been through so many dark night of the soul moments with the suicidal ideation coming back, that one day at a time might be just too overwhelming. Sometimes we have to break it down to 5 minutes. Oh, that's too much. Maybe a minute at a time. Oh, I can't handle that. Okay, it's one breath at a time. And so that's how we live anyway, is one breath at a time. It's just that we are so unaware of the fact that we breathe naturally. We don't even pay attention a lot of the times to our breathing. And when I focus on my breathing, when we do that, we get a sense of this overall well-being of, yes, I'm okay. Yes, I'm alive. Yes, I'm grateful for this life. And so that's really, hope has been my main word throughout my recovery. And one day during my meditation, I downloaded an acronym, was help others process emotions. And I was like, wow, I've been doing that since actually I was a kid. People used to come to me for help, and they were struggling they needed answers, and everybody knew to go to me because I always had the answers. Now, nobody knew how I knew the answers, even me. I didn't know, I just knew. And so looking back, I should have charged them their allowance for my service. So I've basically been doing this, carrying the message and teaching other people with my wisdom my entire life. And I'm just so grateful that I get to transform that into a book so I can reach even more and more people. I had one gal that I got sober with back in the 80s, and she was in town, and I said, oh, let me bring you, I have a gift. So I brought her a copy of my book. And the next morning, she sent me a text and said, I'm halfway through your book. Can I order at least 5 to give to people? And I was like, well, yeah, you can order as many as you want. So I gave her the link to my website, and she ordered 7. So it's that ripple effect. And I don't know who I'm helping. And my whole, the motivation and the goal was that if I helped at least just one person, it's done its job. And, to see that it's just rippling out, and I don't know if it's the snowball effect or the ripple effect, it's happening. And these people that I don't even know are being helped by my life's journey and the journey of other people that are in the book that share their own journey and their struggles and the coping skills that they've acquired over the years that help them. So there's various coping skills that are in the book. And one unique one is a gal with PTSD, and she created comic books to cope with her PTSD. It's like, who would have known? So things like that. It's just been an amazing journey for me. Ever since I was writing poetry at 7 and 8 years old, I always wanted to be a published author. And then I'm a published author. And then I wanted to be a #1 best-selling author. And, when I was checking out my other book, the healing book that was published in Canada, it sold out, and it was meaning there were 40,000 copies sold. And I did not know this, that I was already a best-selling author since 2023. And I was like, oh, it's an international because it's in Canada. So I was just like, wow, and I'm just so grateful.
Wonderful.
That I can be this beacon of hope for other people. And being a light worker and being that trailblazer has not been easy. I mean, I have experienced so many different challenges and things along the way. However, all of my experiences have helped me be there for other people. When they're at their bottom and they're on that edge of life and death, that I can come to them and say, I've been there multiple times, and you can do that, and you can stay sober, and you can change your life regardless of your struggles, because my life is just that. It's living proof that you can get through your darkest moments and still come through on the other side. So I'm just so blessed.
Wonderful. As we move with sacred intention, is there a certain time in your life where that was the catalyst of change? Was there one thing that happened that you said, this is enough? I have to move in a different direction. I have to start living with intention.
Yes. I had become an abusive mother to my 2 babies in my addiction. I had left their dad, escaped, because he was so abusive and he neglected the girls. And when my parents came and rescued us, I had become addicted to pain medication prescriptions, because not only did it fix the physical pain that he caused, but I realized that it also helped with the emotional and mental torture that I was going through. Mm-hmm. And I got to a place where I was doing so many drugs and drinking so much alcohol, and I don't have the luxury of having blackouts like other people. Well, I don't remember what I did. Well, I remember everything that I did to my children because I was as physically sober as I am right now. And so I don't have that luxury of not remembering. And that last day, I was at a technical college, and my oldest was on-site daycare. And just 3 hours after I went to pick her up to take her home, and she fought me. She fought and she screamed because she knew that it was safer for her to stay with those strangers than it was to come home with mommy. Mm-hmm. And I kept trying to get her in her car seat. She kept getting out. And then I just plopped her in there and I slugged her in the stomach. And her eyes got really big. It got real quiet. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to kill my kids. And so we finally made it home. And I grabbed my daughter from the neighbor, my younger daughter, and went inside and I called CPS. And I said, come get my girls. I don't want to hurt them anymore. And I don't know how not to. And 2 police officers showed up, and one told me that he had been on the force for 18 years and not once had they ever had a parent ask for help, and that I was doing the right thing.
Wow.
And that was the catalyst. And then I got sober the next day, and I've been sober ever since. And to watch them be in separate foster homes, I had only a 1 hour a week, supervised visitation. And then eventually 3 months later, on Christmas Eve, my ex-husband got custody. Mm-hmm. And what I learned from that, instead of being really angry and depressed and, those types of things, I had already gone through my inventory process, and I realized that I was never equipped to be a full-time mom. Mm-hmm. Who is? It really overwhelmed me so much, but I was a great part-time mom. And just because I wasn't a full-time mom did not make me a bad mom. So mm-hmm. It allowed me to accept the circumstances and do the best I could with visiting my daughters and never lying to them. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've done. So
well done. Well done. Thank you for your honesty and sharing your story. And look what you've done. You've turned this around where you can help people stop surviving and start thriving.
Yes. Yeah, it's amazing. Because a lot of times in the beginning of my recovery, I didn't really think or believe that I could do it. I was just doing it anyway because I heard, well, act as if. So that's mm-hmm. what I did. I acted as if until it finally became, something that was just second nature to me. It was who I was, right. And I was a recovered person, that I was able to carry this message of hope and healing to other people. And I can remember in my first 30 days, I got sober through a 12-step recovery. And I was at this meeting, and this brand new mom, she had her baby and it was crying and she couldn't get it to stop. And I said, can I try to help? And as soon as that baby was in my arms, it stopped crying. And then I started to cry like, I am a good mom, that kind of thing. So even in the beginning of my recovery, I was able to turn it around and help other people. And I was taught that if you have one day more than somebody else, you can share that with them and how you got through that extra day. And that's the way I've been living all these years. I just had, it's 14,293 days. It's like, beautiful. But who's counting? But because it's a day at a time, I count my days.
Right.
So yeah.
Beautiful. And then you turned it into, now that you do Reiki, and you also have a jar, right, that you're working on, a positive affirmation. So you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah. So in the beginning of the year, I was just inspired by creating my own pick-me-up jar, because throughout life, we need a little pick-me-up every now and then when we're having a challenging day and we're confused and all these thoughts are going in our head when we don't know how to decipher them. And so I created my own pick-me-up jar. And so what I did was I just took a mason jar and I decorated it. And then I used all these colorful sticky notes and, the mini ones. And then the first one that I did was, "You're a badass. Keep going." And then I put it in the jar. I was like, well, I might need that in June. I think it came up last month. I was like, oh, my very first one. And I'm part of these groups of, you just can't make this stuff up. kind of thing when it comes to spiritual messages. And in February, I had a dream that I was on the edge of ending my life. And I woke up and I was sobbing, and all of a sudden I was like, well, you have a pick-me-up jar, silly. So I dumped out what I had. And like I said, you can't make this stuff up. It says, your life is valuable.
Oh.
And I was, yes, it is, put that back in the jar because I might need it later on this year. And, I just, because sometimes we lack that belief in ourselves. And I can remember earlier in this year, I had to let go of a 33-year friendship that I had struggled with for years. And I think it was subconsciously, I needed other people to believe in me before I could believe in myself. And then once I started to believe in myself, I didn't need these other people to believe in me in order to exist and thrive and grow and, whatnot. And so I had to, I've learned now, I've become more aware of the word finally, because it's the same word as should. Like I should have done it sooner. I finally got it done, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's the word finally is a very subtle way of saying, of shitting on myself. So I try not to shit on myself. Right. So I've been more aware of when I go to say, first it was, I would say the word should, and then I would be, oh, I need to change that wording, and then it got to be the point where, no, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to reframe that sentence. And then now it's the finally word that I've become more and more aware of. And then I can share, that message to other people, that when I say finally, it's telling me, well, I should have done it earlier, that kind of thing.
Right. As you're moving through intention. Yeah. So it's never too late to live with intention, right? To move through life with intention. So you have done this amazing book and books, international best-selling author, but you also offer services. Well, do you want to tell our listeners what your services are?
Yes. Well, in 2006, I was doing tarot readings at a metaphysical store, and the owner was a Reiki master teacher. And that's how I was certified with my first and second levels. And I was doing the Reiki for everybody. And I was hired to do readings at Fort Mason in San Francisco on one day. And then the next day they wanted me to do the Reiki out on Alcatraz. And it was so funny to watch these people that had the list for readings. They kept looking at my table, and whenever it was free that nobody was sitting there, they would rush over and cut in front of somebody else on the list. It was hilarious, to watch. It was like these little kids trying to cut in line, for something. And so they loved them so much that the Alcatraz employees heard about this. So when I showed up on Sunday, they wanted a reading as well. So I was like, oh, okay. So I gave them a 5-minute reading and then 5 minutes of Reiki. And then that's how the whole R&R came about, with a reading and Reiki combined. And now what I do is I offer an empowerment coaching session, and I utilize my 39 years of recovery and how I've been able to manage my life and empower my life. And I walk people through that. So I'm an empowerment coach. I do offer the Reiki by itself. I do the chakra balancing, the sound healing that I've incorporated. And now I've been a professional speaker where I travel to other corporations that talk about mental health. And then I do the book signing. So I am just so blessed beyond measure. I can't imagine my life any other way than it is. I needed to embrace, my success earlier this year. It's like, okay, let me go with the flow. And in my spiritual entrepreneur class, the teacher was like, okay, at the speed of Coventina, because once I go to manifest something, it happens, that kind of thing. And now I'm working on an oracle deck for people who are dual diagnosed. And so that I did not know that was going to be in the cards. And I'm just so grateful. And okay, well, instead of publishing this other book, let me do the Oracle deck first, that kind of thing. So I just go with the flow of the energy, because I intend on helping as many people as possible through these different avenues. And then this came up, I was like, oh, gee, that's a great idea, that kind of thing. So instead of resist, I persist. So,
okay. Well, tell us about your books.
Well, my first book that was published back in 2016 is a book of poetry that I had written my entire life, basically. It was about the abuse, and it was about how to free yourself. And the first chapter is hopelessness, and then hope and healing, to offer other women or men the ability to read this book, know that they're not alone, and that there's hope, that they can escape and live their life of their dreams. So that was the first one. And then the second one, it was called Life on the Border, Coping with Mental and Emotional Illness. And I attended the Hay House Writers Boot Camp. And one of the authors said something that clicked. She said, you write the manuscript first, and then you come up with the title, because things can change. I had that aha moment. And the majority of the stories in the book, along with mine, are people who are dual diagnosed. Mm-hmm. So that's when I changed the title to Dually Diagnosed, Dually Blessed, from Struggle to Purpose. And that was re-released on December 13th. It was a Friday. People are like, Friday? No, it's a magical day for me. And within the first week, it reached number 1 in personality disorders, number 2 in drug dependency and recovery, and number 7 in family health in the Kindle store. And then the paperback, when Amazon releases new books, they have this release list, and mine was number 25. And if you look at it, thousands of books are published every day on Amazon. So that was quite, I was dumbfounded. I was like, oh my God, I reached number 1, that kind of thing. So, and then back in 2023, the healing book, it's called The Art of Healing. And I did it. It's an anthology, and I'm one of 6 authors. And that's the one that I didn't realize reached number 1. It was a gold bestseller, which meant 40,000 copies were sold.
Beautiful.
And that's what made me an international bestselling author.
Beautiful.
And then I'm working on one, and right now the title is Navigating Through Loss Without Losing Yourself. I just lost 7 friends in 6 months this year.
Wow.
So and at one time there were 12 people that passed within 8 months. And so my middle name became Grief. I was like, I'm a grief expert without actually being like certified as a grief counselor. No, I'm a grief counselor based on my experience. It's just, it's similar to being in the recovery community. I don't have any, like a social worker degree. I have my own life degree, to share with others. And I know that when I first started doing the readings, and people would come to me with all kinds of problems that I had already been through. And 99% of the people that have come to me for help, I've already been through. It's just how the universe has been these years, that I can take my life and share that with other people and give them hope.
Beautiful.
I don't want to get emotional, but that, to watch people change and grow and come out of the darkness, it is so, I don't know. I can't even describe the word, that matches the way I feel about that, that I'm in awe of the miracle of somebody else's life.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I'm sorry for your loss. As we begin to wrap up our time together, is there any advice that you have for someone who is on the road to recovery? Some pearls of wisdom to help them flip the switch and help them motivate to them to live a life with intention?
When you're struggling, don't listen to outside forces, to try to go within and figure that out of what is it do you really want in this moment? And because I've heard other people in recovery situations saying, well, we all relapse. And I was livid. I just reacted to that post. I'm like, you can't say that. Not everybody relapses. And you act like it's, no big deal. Like, oh, you relapse, you come back. No, there were 3 of my friends that, drank again after a long period of sobriety, and they're dead. They didn't survive. They couldn't come back. So my whole message is it's easier. It really is easier to stay and work through all of that stuff and to, pick up again, because there's no guarantee that you'll make it back. But if you don't take anything, then you have that hope and that opportunity to change that and to grow. And as long as you're honest with yourself, and then that allows you to be honest with somebody else. Because as long as once you speak your truth, you got it made. The path will be a lot clearer, and you can just walk with that intention and figure out what your own dreams are, what your gifts are, because everybody has different gifts. And then they can get in touch with those, and then they can serve the world with their gifts.
Beautiful. So let our listeners know where they can find you, where to book services, and where you can get your book.
Yes, well, you could do all that on my website at CoventinaWaterhawk.com. And I have everything set up to where you can book any kind of service. When you're local here in Las Cruces, you can have your session in person. I have a healing room in my house. And then for the speaking engagements, you can also book that as well. So everything is on my website.
All right, beautiful.
I have my podcast, and I have my interviews, and I have book reviews, I have client testimonials. So you can, you name it, you can find it on my website. Again, CoventinaWaterhawk.com.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Coventina, for coming on Sacred Motion. I really appreciate you. Thank you for all that you do for the world to help to stop redirect and stop surviving and thriving. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. I hope this helps you in your journey so that you can just stop, take a moment and breathe, focus your awareness on that breath, and move forward with intention. I'm Tracy C. Wright, and this has been Sacred Motion.